Alright, hey there guys. So, as you can see, well maybe you can see, I'm obviously not in a 240. I sold that a while ago. I don't remember what the last car video I posted was actually. Well, anyways, I'm in a 2006 S55 AMG by Mercedes-Benz, obviously. And here is my reasoning as to why the S55 is still a great performance sedan that you can have for relatively low cost. So, it's got a 0 to 60 time from factory of 4.5 seconds for 2006 at least. The 493 horsepower, 516 foot-pounds of torque. A lot of people don't care. That's not real world power. That's if I were to pull this engine out of the car, strap it to an engine dyno, that's what I would get. They're regularly around 400 wheel horsepower is what you'll see out of them. It is governed at a top speed of 155 miles per hour, which it'll get there no problem. With this supercharged 5.4 liter V8, it has all the power you could ever need. It's super spacious. So this model, or this particular one, has the adjustable rear seat. So on the passenger doors, you can actually adjust it. Not really a recline, kind of. The bottom moves. I guess you could call it a reclining feature. The bottom moves out, so you kind of have more or less legroom back there. I guess depending on how long your legs are, it might be more comfortable. It does have power folding mirrors, so when I lock the car, the mirrors will fold in. Leather interior, obviously, Mercedes. Heated, and this one has heated and cold seats. Sunroof works. The big thing that a lot of people don't like about them is the ABC suspension, or active body control. It's a great ride, feels great, adjustable height and everything on the fly with the push of a button. The issue is, if you blow out one of your shocks, or if the ABC pump goes bad and sends metal through the system and you have to replace the shocks are $1,700 each. So that's not for a set, that's each. So it is an expensive system to maintain. But if you maintain it, which I was lucky enough to get this one where the ABC system has been maintained, it's a great ride. You can't compare it to really anything else. The ride is just so buttery smooth. And your camera is shaking, but that's because I have it mounted to the vent. If you ride in the car, it's super smooth. And then it's got that power, and that sound. Even cruising at 60, I punch it and it accelerates quick enough. It gets you where you need to go and as fast as you want to go. With a tune, remove the speed limiter, and a pulley upgrade, it's a ridiculously fast car. For a sedan, at least, obviously, a two-door car might be quicker, but for a four-door sedan, these things weighed in at 4,500 pounds curb weight. To have a 0 to 60 of 4.5 seconds stock, that's just ridiculous, especially when you consider that these only came in automatic. So it's going through, the transcode is 722.6, which from my understanding is the same 5-speed automatic they used in the Dodge Chargers, the Hellcats. It just has a different valve body in the Hellcats. I don't know if that's true, that's just what I've been told. I do know with a shift kit or a new valve body in these things, they do shift a lot quicker, and it's not as much of a slush box. That being said, there's really nothing I would change about this car. It's comfortable, back seat's huge, trunk's huge. Some of you might not know, my daughter is in a wheelchair, and there's enough room in the trunk of this I could throw her wheelchair in there and still have room to do grocery shopping or whatnot. I can have both kids in the back seat in their car seats and still have tons of room to throw groceries and stuff in the back seat, all while being able to accelerate from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. I do want to point that out. 4.5 seconds for a 4,400 pound SUV. That's ridiculous. If you look at the E55, which is about 400 pounds lighter, it had the same 0 to 60 time rating, 4.5 seconds. I think they might have been 4.4 seconds, so 0.1 second faster 0 to 60. You know, and that's just, the E55s are a great car. There's a lot more tunability to them, but if you want straight luxury, you can't beat the S55. So I don't know if you can see in the back window, it's got an electric sunshade. Right there. Electric sunshade in the back window. The rear passenger windows also have manual sunshades that you pull up and latch on to a little latch on top, which makes it great for kids. So you can throw your kids in the back seat, you know, in the rear-facing car seat, and the sun's not going to blind them. And then at nighttime, if you need to see, you know, you're driving or whatever, you put it down and it doesn't block your vision. Now, I currently don't have the kids in the car. I leave my sunshade up just because I like the way it kind of keeps it shadier in here. Does have a 6 CD changer in the trunk. DVD player for this model. Like I said, there's so much I could go on with this car. The ride quality is great. The performance of it is fantastic. There are a few weird things, so like the reading lamp. The button's up here. The reading lamp itself is right here. So like that's a little oddball feature. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else I can say about it. You know, it's just, I can go on and on about the little things that make this car just an amazing vehicle. The ride quality, the space, the power. It's everything you could ever want in a car. And if you look around, you can have the S55 with relatively low miles. I'm talking, you're still going to be in the 3 digits, 6 digit figure. But you can get an S55 for less than $10,000. And that's just fucking insane to me. You know, to be able to have this much car for less than $10,000, and then simple mods, tune, pulley, upgrade the intercooler cooling, or the supercharger cooling. You can have an 11-second car, you know, for $12,000, including the purchase price of the car. You know, if you want to spend a little more, you get headers. You can go meth injection or E85 even, and have, you know, a car in the low 10s that weighs 4,400 pounds. And I mean, you can go full build on this. The most expensive part's going to be your headers. You can go full build, cams, heads, headers, pulley, do your crank pulley if you want, but if you're going to go smallest supercharger pulley, you don't really want to do the crank pulley on the stock supercharger because you will exceed its max RPM and could shorten the longevity of the supercharger itself. But you could do the pulley, you can do the tune, do an intake kit, headers, exhaust. You know, some lighter wheels on it would help. And you're talking a low 10-second car that's still north of 4,000 pounds. To me, it's just ridiculous. On this one, I just swapped out wheels yesterday so I had the stock 19 by 9.5s in the rear, 19 by 9s in the front. I swapped them out for Forge Star F14s, 19 by 10 in the rear, 19 by 9 in the front. it was a night and day difference in the weight. Even carrying them was night and day, but you throw that much lighter of a wheel on these cars, and it's like I said, night and day difference. Not only when cruising, I gained 2 miles per gallon of fuel economy, which, I mean, you're looking at AMG, fuel economy is probably not your big thing, but going in the corners at speed is noticeable. Like, I don't have to brake it, I don't have to slow down before a corner, it feels like, anymore. And all because of how much lighter that wheel is. There's less rotational mass, helps the acceleration, less unsprung weight helps the handling of the vehicle and the way it rides. And I'm still running the same tires they were on it, so aside from the fronts being a tiny bit wider, the rears this is a rear-wheel drive car, so the rear is really the big thing. And so this is more or less a 9-day difference between weight. Just the weight of the wheels made a huge difference in the way this car rides. So I'm running a 275 35/19 in the rear, to 55/40, I want to say, in the front. And those tires have no problem with traction. They're Nitto Motivos, which is an all-season tire, and still be able to grip when it's having that much torque put down to them. I love these tires with a 60,000 mile warranty, so I'll definitely put these tires on again when these ones are worn out and ready to be replaced. And that's the same tire as well. Not only is the size the same, the model and everything is the same as the previous tire. So, like I said, apples to apples, no traction issues with the lighter wheel, noticeable difference in handling, I can't really say noticeable difference in acceleration. I want to say it, but I don't have a V-Box or anything to actually monitor that performance, so I can't say that for sure. All in all, like I said, great vehicles. I'd recommend them. If you do get an S55 that has the ABC system, either make sure it's been maintained, or be prepared to shell out a lot of money to either convert it to coilovers, which you can do for around $1,200, or replace shit that needs to be replaced. And like I said, that's expensive. Each shock is $1,200 or $1,700. The pump is, I think, $800. So it adds up quick, and then you got all the lines and the proportioning valves and everything. So just be prepared for that. Yeah, like I said, I'd highly recommend this vehicle. They sound great. There is not a single thing I would change about it. Yeah, so if you're looking for a sports sedan that can, haul kids around during the week, and on weekends you want to take it down to the track, I definitely recommend an S55. The E55 is going to be a little bit pricier. It is easier to mod. Parts are cheaper for it because it's a more tunable platform. People don't really grab the S55s for tuning to make performance. It is the same exact engine, same exact drivetrain. The subframe is different, so like E55 headers don't fit it. They'll hit the subframe. I have heard you can make them fit with some trimming to the subframe. I'm not going to try that. My plans for it, if the suspension goes out, I'm going to convert it to coilovers. If once I have some money, I'm going to do tune it, and I'm going to do a 77mm pulley, and that's an ECU and transmission tune. 77mm pulley with a belt wrap kit, and I'm going to upgrade the coolant pump that should get me around the 600 horsepower range from those, I'll call it 3 simple mods. You know, all stuff that you can do in your garage. The M113K is not it is a super user-friendly engine to work on. You know, an average backyard mechanic can go through an M113K and replace 98% of parts. As long as you have an engine hoist to do things like the rear main seal, you know, oil pan gasket, and motor mounts, you know, it's a no-brainer. Any vehicle with the M113K is going to be super reliable, super easy to work on. Really, I do recommend any M113K engine, but if you want the ultimate luxury with still being able to pump up the power, the S55 is hands down probably your best bet. You could look at the M10 of the same, or the M10, the M5 of the same era, and you know, you're still going to be, what, 16,000 in, and don't quote me on that, I haven't looked at the pricing of the M5, but I do know they're notoriously unreliable. Transmission issues, I think they have some engine issues with the Vanos system in that V10, I believe. Like I said, the main thing I've heard is the transmission issues. So, I mean, sure, you can go get an M5 for, you might be able to find one for 9,000. But the transmission issues alone is enough to make me shy away from them. This platform of the AMG has no major issues. There's one fitting, the main harness that goes to the transmission. The O-rings dry out and they leak a little transmission fluid. That is the only issue with this car. You know, aside from the common stuff, motor mounts, because Mercedes uses a hydraulic filled motor mount, which, you know, those go bad. Hydraulic fluid, they're a wear and tear item anyways, but with as much torque as these engines have, Mercedes should have done a rubber motor mount, not a hydraulic fluid one, in my opinion. It would have decreased the ride probably a tiny bit, but it wouldn't have had, you know, they wouldn't go bad so often. But yeah, I mean, this car is 14 years old. The leather's in great shape. This one has heated, cooled seats, has the dynamic bolsters, which means when I go into a turn, the side bolsters will adjust to kind of hold me in the center of the seat. It has the massaging seats, which is more or less just so there's 2 lumbars on the seat. It has an upper and a lower one, and it just switches between the lumbars. It'll inflate the bottom one fully, deflate it, then inflate the top one. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, again, I highly recommend this vehicle. Any 155 car, any 550 series will have this engine, from my knowledge, and any 500 series basically has an understroked version of this engine. So those 2, and then any 55 AMG is going to have this same engine. 03 through 06, E55 and up will have the supercharged version. 03 through 06, C and CL55 are a naturally aspirated version of this engine. So, yeah, just something to keep an eye out. And no, you cannot bolt the supercharger from a 55K car. AMG calls them compressors, so you cannot bolt the supercharger from a M113K to a non-K M113 without extensive work. I mean, the M113 naturally aspirated has an 11:1 compression ratio. The M113K has an 8.5:1. They have different head designs. So, I mean, you might be able to swap heads, get it to work, but you're still looking at the harness. you'd have to go with a bigger pulley, so you're not making as much boost, or I believe a smaller crank pulley. You'd have to tune it, get it tuned either way. Where you could probably buy, honestly, a wrecked M113K car for the same price you're gonna pay to get just the supercharger and the heads. So it's more worth it to just find a full parts car, pull everything you need out of there, the harness, ECU, the supercharger cooling system, just swap that all over at one go. Anyways, that's my take on the M113K powered cars, specifically the S55.